Hi everyone, and welcome to my next video tutorial where I'll be teaching you guys how to make use of a fancy package called Django Hijack. So it's pretty much exactly what it says. So Django Hijack is a very cool package that's going to allow our super users or our admin users to actually hijack, or we can just water it down and say log in as a user. Okay, and then technically once we've logged in as a user, we can then go ahead and work on behalf of another user. Now, I'm not going to show you the very complicated parts of this package because you can go as far as to actually remotely access your users. So this package is really quite complex, but I'm just going to show you the basics of how you can override another user, or in other words, hijack a user account. All right. So of course, this has a lot of different use cases and scenarios. That's why it is quite the package to implement if you can. Okay, so just to give you guys some context and background, I do have a simple application. So all you need to ensure is the Django application that you want to implement this package in. Make sure that you at least have a basic registration place for your users to register, and ensure that you have an area for your users to log in. So make sure you have a basic authentication system on your Django app. Very simple, very easy. If you don't know how to do this, I do have video tutorials on explaining this. So I will attach that as always in the description below with all the various links that are important for the tutorials, okay? So make sure you have a simple login application, that's all you need. Okay, so let's get started. So once you've got that all set and ready to go, let's get started. Right, so the first thing you need to do is install this Django Hijack package. Okay, as you can see, it's quite new, so let's go ahead and install it. So, as always, you want to turn off your server and ensure you're in your virtual environment. Make sure you don't install your packages globally, something I always say. So let's go ahead and copy this package. Go ahead and install it. Okay, so and there we go, it's been installed. So I already had it installed, so it will look a bit different from you. So just make sure for your own sake that you install the package. Right, now the good thing is that this Django Hijack package does come with documentation, as do all the packages. So I will of course attach this in the description below. So basically this is the documentation that you require. We're only going to have a look at the basics here. Of course, you can read through this and just browse through. Like I said, the really cool part is when you can remotely hijack your users. I mean, well, take that with a pinch of salt is what I'm saying. I don't mean it's a good thing to hijack accounts, but I mean, if you're doing some penetration testing, etc., it's more than fine. But anyway, so let's get started. Right, so let's get started. So we can scroll all the way up to the start, and I just want to zoom in just to make it clearer for you guys. So the first thing, of course, was to install the Django Hijack package, which we've done. Next, we need to add Hijack to our installed apps as follows, and then add in the Hijack middleware. So we can go ahead and copy this here and add this to installed apps. So head over to your project settings.py file. So I'm heading, my project's called Taskly, I'm heading to settings.py. And then here with under installed apps, I can just add that in. So Hijack. Next, we need to go ahead and install the middleware. So we can go ahead and add in the middleware. I prefer to add the middleware to the bottom. So what I mean by that is here we have all the middleware configurations. Try and add it as the last record here. It's the best and safest way. Usually if you put additional middleware from an external Django package or dependency at the top, it usually does cause issues. So I'd recommend just putting it at the bottom. Great. Okay, so we've got that. Next thing that we need to do is we need to add the Django Hijack URLs to our main project's urls.py. So let's say, for example, you have an app, okay, and you have a urls.py file in your app. I wouldn't recommend adding it there. I would suggest using your main urls.py file for your project. So as I said, my project's Taskly, so I'm going to use the main urls.py file here. And here's where I'm going to add a hijack. So I'm going to copy that there. And we can just paste that in like so. Okay, so make sure you've got that set and ready to go. Okay, so let's close that and head over back to settings because there's one more thing that we need to add. So before we add that extra thing, I just want to do some explaining. So when you want to hijack another user, okay, there are two ways to do it. The first way is you can go ahead and, you reuse this code here and modify it to help you to integrate a hijack button into your template. Okay, this is one way. I don't prefer it this way. I think it's better to keep things like this on the admin side. You don't want to risk a user heading over to that template. Even though you can probably go ahead and restrict view to templates, it's just a bit risky. So I prefer to make use of the Django admin integration instead. So in this case, what's going to happen is all you need to do is add the following hijack.contrib.admin to our installed apps, and then it's going to automatically create a new column with dynamic buttons here showing the names of the users. So for example, let's see if I can zoom in here so you can see. Oof. Okay, there we go. So we have a few users here. So for example, Alfred, Charlotte, Ricardo, and we can see here the hijack button changes the name here according to the user. So hijack Alfred, hijack Charlotte, hijack Ricardo. This way it's a little bit safer because now you have the admin that's in control of this. You don't want to risk anything on the client side with the user. So it's better to keep everything on the admin side. So technically what would happen here is once you click one of these buttons, you'll hijack that user and you'll be in control of that user's account, and you'll be able to modify some things on behalf of that user and check certain things. Okay, so that is the integration we're going to follow, of course. Once you have more experience, I'd recommend trying it this way. And of course, what you can do and go ahead is go next in this documentation later on and just read about the other ways in which you can modify this package, including the way of remotely accessing users or accounts, which is quite involved, but it's definitely something interesting to read about. Great, okay. So what we need to do is just add a hijack.contrib.admin to our installed app. So go ahead and copy that. And you want to head over to your settings.py file. And just under hijack, you can just go ahead and add in the following. So do remember to add in quotes though, like so. So hijack.contrib.admin. So make sure you add that to your settings.py file as well. Very important. So now we've got the basics done. Last thing that we need to do is make sure that we don't need to migrate anything. So you can head over to your command prompt and you can just say Python manage.py, and you can just say, let's be safe. Let's say make migrations first. So I just want to make this wider, just to be safe. Okay, and then we can just say migrate. So usually with packages, you just need to say migrate, but just as a good habit, just remember to just say make migrations. Okay, nothing to apply. Great. So we can turn on our server now. So run server. All right, that's fine. Let's just refresh our page and see if everything's fine. We can test a button or two. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so everything is good to go. So we've installed everything as it should be installed. Right, so the last thing we need to do is we need to set this property here, the login redirect URL. So what you can do is go ahead and type in the following. So login underscore redirect underscore URL equals. And here you're going to put in your URL or the route in which you want to be redirected. So I'll actually add this in quotes here, but this is a bit misleading. So where admin users redirect to after taking control of a user's account. Okay, so with this package, it makes use of the login redirect URL parameter or variable for the above function here. So this is going to add the functionality of redirecting your users, your admin users, okay, to a specific page or URL immediately after they've taken control of a user's account. So what I mean by that is, if you can see down here, once one of these buttons are clicked, so for example, hijack Alfred, immediately we want to redirect to a specific URL or page. So in this case, I'm just redirecting to how can you say, I'm just redirecting to the home page? But what we can do is we can actually modify this to a specific URL. We can make it just a custom basic template to help us, get some sort of validation or clarity as to what action we performed when we went ahead and hijacked a specific user. So we can technically create a template that says, account overridden, you have just hijacked so-and-so's account. Okay, so that's something that we can go ahead and add actually. So that will make more sense for you guys to understand the process of what we're actually doing. Okay, so we'll get to that in just a moment. So there's a lot to explain, so just bear with me. So now let's go back. So the first thing I want you guys to do is just to go ahead and log into your admin account. So log in with your admin user. If you don't have an admin user, just go ahead and create a super user, and you can go ahead and log in with those credentials. So go ahead and do just that. Right, so once you've added in your credentials for your admin user, go ahead and log in. Okay, so you can head over to users. Okay, and it's possible you'll see this. It's also possible you may not see it. Okay, it really depends with the Django hijack package. So sometimes you'll see this long elongated number here. So this is something that's going to help us to hijack our users. So don't worry if you don't see it. It's not always the case that you'll see it, but this is just something that may appear. Okay, either way, that's not the point. So I have a few users here. I have a user called Jake Smith, Katie Carter, and Anna, of course, my admin or super user. So what I would recommend you guys do is to go ahead and add and create two users. Okay, so if you don't know how to do that, you can go ahead and add a user. Okay, and you just need to give them a username. So I'm going to show you an example. So here I'm going to call this person Paul, add in a password like so, and you can just say save. And you can just head it back to users. And that's how you create a user. So go ahead and create two users. So I already have two here, one called Jake Smith and the other Katie Carter. All right, now I'm going to log into both their accounts just so you can see where I get redirected to once I've logged in. What can I access as a user is what I'm trying to get ahead with you guys. So bear in mind the usernames, Jake Smith and Katie Carter. So I'm going to log out here. And I'm just going to log in. So of course we had Jake Smith, and I'm going to log in to his account. Okay, and it just says welcome Jake Smith. Let me log out. Okay, and I'm going to log in now, and we had Katie Carter. Log in. And it says welcome Katie Carter. Okay, so we can now see that we're able to log into those two users with their username and their password. Okay, now the cool thing is that I'm going to show you is once we click the hijack button, we'll be able to access this page. So do bear note the URL that we redirect to upon logging in. So this is called a dashboard. Now dashboard is a secure page. You need to be logged in to actually access dashboard. So this is where we want to go to a user only page. Okay. So this is how you'll see the test that you're actually overriding a user's account. So let's go ahead and log out now. So remember, dashboard. So this for you can be different. This can probably be in your case, profile management, etc. So it's going to be the page that you're first redirected to once your users have authenticated themselves and logged in to their accounts. So we can log out now. And what I want to do now is I want to go back to settings.py, and we want to create a template where we want to redirect to. So remember what I said earlier on? So whenever we click on that hijack button, okay, we're going to be redirected to this URL. So you can just follow exactly what I do. Try not to get confused with, for example, other templates in my project. Just follow exactly what I'm doing, apply it to your own project, and this will make clear sense. So we're going to do it very simple, and it's going to be very easy as to what we're going to do. So let's get started. So what I'm going to do, first of all, is head over to my templates. And here in my directory here, I'm just going to create a new template, and I'm going to call it hijack-user.html. Okay, you can call this anything you want. So I'm just calling it hijack-user.html. And this is where we want to create the template so for where we want our admin user to redirect to once he's hijacked an account. So here I'm just going to say h1, for example, and I'm going to say account override. Override. Okay. Then here I'm going to just add a paragraph tag, and I'm just going to say you have overridden. And here what you can do in Django is you can use the following double curly brace on the left and double curly brace on the right, and you can just say user. So this is a special sort of built-in functionality with Django that tells you what user is logged in on that page. So what user is currently logged in. Okay, so that's what it tells you. And here you can just put S and you can say account. So technically speaking, if you're logged in as Jane, okay, you're going to see Jane. If you're logged in as Mark, you're going to see Mark. Then the next thing we want to do is once it tells us that we've overridden an account, we want to redirect to another page. So preferably a page that requires authentication access for users. So what I can do here is just add another simple paragraph tag, and here I'm just going to add a link. So ahref, and I'm just going to add in the following, and I'm just going to say URL, and remember it was dashboard. That's my route name. And I just want to close this with the curly brace like follows. And just like that, we want to go ahead and enter between the A tags, go to dashboard, like so. Okay, so make sure you've got this in place. So account override, and then it says you have overridden so-and-so user's account. Then in the paragraph tag, you want to embed a link, so you can use an A tag and say ahref equals, and then in curly braces, URL dashboard, and then go to dashboard will be underlined. Okay, so this is, of course, going to be our template. We just need to set up a basic URL and a basic view for this. That's all we need to do next. So we can close this, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and set this up in my URLs. Okay, so hijack a user. So I'm just going to create a normal path here. So I'm in my urls.py file here, and I'm just going to add in the following. So I'm going to call the route name hijack-user, and the views, I'm going to say hijack_user, and the name is going to be hijack-user, and just be sure to add a comma at the end. Okay, so we need to create our view now because it's not recognized, but make sure you've got at least got a basic URL set and ready to go. So I'm going to head over to the view, and now we're just going to create a basic one called hijack_user, pass in the request object, and return a basic page template. So it was called register. So here I'm going to put register.html. like so. So that will be in place there. Oh, sorry, not register. Hijack user, sorry, I'm a bit confused there. So hijack-user. So make sure it's exact. So we have hijack user, okay? So we've got that in place. Now, technically what we can do now is we can go to this URL. So I'm just going to copy that. And here I'm just going to add in hijack user. Okay, so account override, you have overridden anonymous user's account, go to dashboard. Okay, so we're not logged in as a user, we're not authenticated, but once we do get authenticated, we'll be able to see which user we have overridden, if you get what I mean. Great, so that's working fine. Now what we can do is we can close this up, head over to settings.py again, and now you want to put in the login redirect URL. Now if we go to our URLs, just for clarity here, okay, I always like to keep the route name and the name attribute here the same, because the name attribute contributes and pertains a lot to the links. So when you're adding links, so hijack user, I'm just going to add in here like so. So you'll see once we go ahead and click on that hijack button, we're going to be redirected to this page. So that's what's going to happen. We're going to be redirected there. So make sure you add this in correctly. Okay, so that is probably enough. So let's actually test this now, probably what you guys have been waiting for. So I like to just restart my server. So go ahead and do just that. Make sure you got your users, head over to your admin page, and just log in with your admin user like before. Right, so once you've added in your admin credentials, go ahead and log in. Okay, you can head over to users. Okay, and what you want to do is you want to choose a user to hijack. So I'm going to hijack Jake Smith, so I'm going to scroll to the end here. And if I say hijack, okay, it's going to go ahead and hijack Jake Smith. So let's click on that. It's going to redirect me to this page. So that was the reason for adding login redirect URL. It's a bit weird, the name. I don't know why they decided to do that, but that's just how it works. And it says here you have overridden Jake Smith's account. Go to dashboard. And now we're on Jake Smith's account, and we can actually go ahead and manage it and manipulate it as much as we feel. Okay. So what you can do is you can head over back here in your URL to admin. And here it already tells us you are authenticated as Jake Smith, but are not authorized to access this page. So that means we're still in a hijack mode, you could say, of Jake Smith's account. So it says you're currently working on behalf of Jake Smith. You can either hide the message or release it. So if I say hide, it's not going to do much. For example, if I go back to admin, it's still going to authenticate me as Jake Smith. But if I say release, okay, it's going to allow me to log in, and I have no more control over Jake's account. Okay, so by saying release, you're releasing access. You're not hijacking that account anymore. So that's what release is doing. So releasing control back to the user. That's essentially what we're doing. Let's do it again. So choose a second user. So I'm going to choose Katie Carter, and I'm going to say hijack. You've overridden Katie Carter's account. Go to dashboard, and here we overridden Katie's account. Okay, technically, if we want to release access, we can head over to our admin page, and we can release this access so that we're no longer working on behalf of Katie Carter. We can just say release, and there we go. All right, so this is a very fancy and unique package that we can make use of, Django Hijack. So there are a million use cases. Of course, we can, of course, do lots of different kinds of testing, auditing, etc. Yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. So I would encourage you to read this documentation further, go in a little bit more detail, and just read a little bit more about certain permissions, but you can add certain permissions. You can add in you can make use of the permission functions. You can even customize these functions to your own use cases, as you can see, which makes it really, really cool. You can also style notifications. And of course, the best part of the lot here, if we go to the end, we also can work with remote users, which is really one of the coolest parts, but I believe it's quite tricky to get this right. But definitely it's something that you guys can try out. And as always, what I'm going to do is I will add all of the documentation in the description below for you guys to see. In terms of the login and register part, if you really don't understand how to do that, I do have basic Django tutorials on that particularly, so I'll be sure to also add them as well. But for most of you, I'm sure you guys understand how to do the basics to get this right, to be honest. But otherwise, that's it, guys. And of course, thank you as always for the support. All right, thank you, and see you next time.